Dear students, welcome to this session. In this session, we will discuss the analysis of algorithm. What is an analysis of algorithm? What is the need of analyzing the algorithm? And how to analyze an algorithm. So for that we need to recall the algorithm design model. So this is the algorithm design model that we have discussed already. Just if we recall it, it means if you want to design a new algorithm for a particular problem, we need to follow these steps. So first step is understanding the problem. It is nothing but what identifying the input and the output of the problem. If you are not clear in the input and output of the problem given to you, you cannot start the algorithm. So first clearly understand the problem, clearly identify the what is the input of for the problem and what should be the result for that problem. What is the solution? What is the final output? That you have to decide first. The next we need to decide on some choices, that is whether you want to go to that exact solution or approximate solution. Some algorithm we may not find the exact solution. In that case you need to go for the approximate solution. So that you decide first whether you are going to find the approximate solution or the exact solution. The next is important, that is a data structure. What data structure you are going to use for storage. So for designing the problem, we may need to use some storage. Temporarily, we may need to use some storage for storing the input or output or some temporary values. So what type of storage you are going to use? So you have to choose the data structure properly. The next, algorithm design techniques. So we will have a different algorithm design techniques. So which technique you are going to use? Example, brute force, divide and conquer, etc. And sequential or parallel. Sequential or parallel. So whether that algorithm is able to implement it in the parallel or not. So if you implement it in parallel, we can further reduce that time complexity. So your algorithm will work fast. So that you have to choose whether able to implement in the parallel, or you are going to design as an sequential algorithm. Then we need to design the algorithm. So after choosing all these parameters, that is exact or approximate solution and proper data structure and proper algorithm design techniques, and whether sequential or parallel, we need to go for the algorithm design. Once if you designed the algorithm, the first step is you need to check the correctness of that algorithm. So mathematically you can check the correctness. What is the correctness of that algorithm? Whether your algorithm is producing the expected output for all the possible input. That is the correctness of that algorithm. So if the result is itself a wrong, then what is the need? Need of that algorithm? So first I have to check the expected output is correct for the various input. So that we have to check. So we have some mathematically we can check the correctness of that algorithm, or by testing, by giving some input, by tracing that algorithm, we can check the correctness of the algorithm. So here correctness means that correctness of the output result. Okay, that is a main thing. If the result itself is wrong, the output itself is wrong, so you should again go to and design the algorithm, or decide on data structure and algorithm design techniques and like this. Again we have to reconsider the algorithm. Suppose if the algorithm is correct, so the next can we go for the coding of that algorithm, say implementing that algorithm in some code, some language like that. So that is actually a next step. After designing the algorithm, we will go to the code. But in between, as a computer engineer, we should not release that algorithm immediately. We should analyze that algorithm. It means that we have to what say what is the time complexity and space complexity of this algorithm. That is the efficiency of that algorithm. What is the efficiency of your designed algorithm? That you have to what say. So in between, once the algorithm is designed and correctness is checked, we need to analyze the algorithm. Analyzing the algorithm is nothing but what? Quantifying the efficiency of the algorithm. Quantifying the efficiency of the algorithm. How can we quantify the efficiency? Means in terms of what? Two quantity, that is space and time. Space complexity and what? The time complexity. So that we have to what? Decide. So what is the space complexity? Means how much approximately how much space your algorithm will take to produce the output. Time complexity means amount of time your algorithm will take to produce the output after taking the input. So the time, exact execution time, will be what known only if you are implementing the algorithm in some particular language, in particular system. Then only what we can find the exact time, that is what execution time. But before coding itself, we need to say that time complexity approximately. Okay, we need to estimate approximately your algorithm will produce the output at this time. Okay, so this is my fastness of algorithm. In this fast, my algorithm will produce the output. Like that, we have to approximately say. So that only we are going to discuss. That is what. So how we can say that time complexity of an algorithm. So for that, what we need to do means we need to analyze your algorithm. By analyzing it, I need to say that time complexity. So before implementing, okay, before finding the execution time through the language code, okay, so we need to analyze your algorithm itself. Approximately, you have to say the efficiency of that algorithm in terms of what? That time complexity. So in designing algorithm, 3 points we have to what concentrate. One is the data structure. And second one is the algorithm design techniques. That is the second design techniques. And finally, what? The analysis of algorithm. These three things you have to what learn. Your execution time and that amount of space, the execution time of your algorithm is completely depending on what data structure you are going to choose, and what algorithm design technique you are going to choose. Okay, so we need to know how to analyze an algorithm. Okay, and then how we need to know how to improve that efficiency of that algorithm, that is improve the time complexity efficiency of that algorithm. So your time complexity, amount of execution time for improving the time efficiency, the time complexity is actually depending on the data structure, what data structure we are choosing, and what is the algorithm design technique. So we need to concentrate on these three areas particularly. Okay, so data structure, algorithm design techniques, and analysis of algorithm. Okay, in analysis of algorithm, we need to learn how to analyze an algorithm. So we need to know how to find the time complexity, and mathematically we are going to say this is the time complexity of our algorithm. And we need to know space complexity. Okay, and data structures. So for that, we need to know we need to have a knowledge on all the data structures. For that purpose only, for designing the algorithm only, we are going to learn the different data structures and what is the advantage and drawbacks of different data structures, how it will store the data, how can we retrieve the data efficiently. So like that, what we are learning the data structures concept, okay, along with what the algorithm. Okay. Similarly, we need to know algorithm design techniques also. Okay, so if you design the algorithm, your algorithm belongs to any of these categories. So different various categories are there. So particularly what these three categories, that is divide and conquer, dynamic programming, and greedy approach. So these three algorithm design techniques you are going to learn. Now brute force method is nothing but the straightforward method. Straightforward method means here we will not think about the complexity, time complexity, efficiency of that algorithm. Simply here we will concentrate only on obtaining the solution for that algorithm. So the straightforward method usually called as what? Brute force method. Okay, so then if you want to reduce the complexity, time complexity, reduce the time complexity, and we need to reduce the space complexity also. So if you want to reduce the time complexity for improving the efficiency of that algorithm, we may go for the different algorithm design techniques, divide and conquer, dynamic programming, greedy approach. So each algorithm design technique will have one what drawback and what advantages. By considering all the things, okay, we need to what design the algorithm. So which one is the best suitable as a algorithm design technique? Which data structure is the best suitable for your algorithm? Like that, we have to what choose that data structure. So that is the objective of this course. At the end of the semester, you should able to choose the appropriate data structure and appropriate algorithm design techniques for improving the efficiency of that algorithm by reducing the time complexity. Okay, that's all. So this is an objective of what that course. So here we have discussed some data structures, basic data structure, stack, queue, list, tree, and binary search tree on classification we have discussed. So now we are going to what know how to what analyze an algorithm, how to find the time complexity, space complexity we are not going to discuss. That is what, this is nothing but the amount of space that we can say that this much space will take. By if you are writing the algorithm, we can know that amount of space. So we are going to learn how to what mathematically prove the complexity, time complexity of that algorithm. After that, what is the different design techniques are there. Okay, so now we'll go for what analysis of algorithm, how to estimate the time complexity of that algorithm, how to estimate the time complexity of that algorithm. So next, asymptotic notations, which is actually used for representing the time complexity of an algorithm. That is, after designing the algorithm, we need to what find the estimate the approximate execution time. That means we need to what say the time complexity of that algorithm. So how we are going to what say the time complexity of that algorithm means what in terms of what the asymptotic notations. So the asymptotic notations are nothing but a mathematical model, okay, the mathematical model to represent the time complexity of an algorithm. The time complexity is also what called as the rate of growth of an algorithm. Rate of growth of an algorithm. Rate of growth of is nothing but what? Actually what your execution time of algorithm is basically depending on the size of the input. Okay, correct, size of the input. For example, for searching a number from 100 numbers, if you want to search a particular number, from 1000 number if you want to what search a particular number, okay, what is the time complexity needed? Okay, execution time for 100 searching a number from 100 numbers, searching a number from 1000 numbers, searching a number from 10,000 what numbers, like that we have to what find. So your complexity is depending on the input size. So if you are increasing that input size, how fast your execution time is get increased, that we have to find. How fast what your execution time will get what increased. For example, assume one algorithm, okay, so need for the size 1, if n equal to 1, okay, So if n equal to 1, that corresponding time complexity, that is execution time, is needed as what? 1. If you are increasing the input size suddenly to 10, okay, so here the execution time, this is what a time. Okay, execution time, input size, if you are increasing 1 to 10, the execution time suddenly it is increased to 20, like that. Okay, suppose if I like that some algorithm is designed, assume it. Similarly, what if you are increasing 10 to that 100, your execution time is suddenly increased to what? 5000. Okay, and if you are increasing to what? 1000, okay, it is increased to for 50k, like this. So here this is the rate of growth. So when you are increasing the size n, input size, what is the dramatic change in the execution time? Okay, so that we can draw that as an what? A graph. Here for that 1, okay, this is 1. For the 10, so execution time is what? 20. Okay, for that 100, the execution time is what? 5000. So it may be here. For the 1000, the execution time what? This. So your rate of growth of your function. So this is between that input size n, and then this is the time complexity. It is the execution time. So time on n. So T of n means what? Time on n, or time for the input size n, T of n. So which is the representation of what? Yeah, time complexity. Okay, so this is your algorithm time complexity. Okay, so this is a rate of growth. Suppose some algorithm, this is algorithm 1, okay, some algorithm, another algorithm, algorithm 2, for the same input size, okay, the time is what? 1. Okay, but if you are changing 1 to n, this algorithm execution time not suddenly increased to 20, it is also what? 10. Execution time also what? 10. Again, if you are increasing 10 to 100, there is no much change on 20 to 5000. So it is what? The same 100 milliseconds I needed. Okay, so if we are increasing the input size from 10 to 100, so the same amount of what changes are happened on the time complex execution time also. So execution time also what? 100. So then 1000, 100 to 1000, if you are increasing, here also we need what? 1000 milliseconds we will get. So for if you are increasing the time, okay, so this much what changes are there in what execution time for algorithm 2. For this algorithm 2, this is for the rate of growth for what? Algorithm 1. For this 1 1 and 10 10, okay, and 100 100, okay, 100 100, and then 1000. Okay, so it is simply what? Like this. Okay, so here this is algorithm 2, this is algorithm 2 rate of growth. So between this algorithm 1 and algorithm 2, which one we can say is the best? Which is having the less execution time. Okay, so even if you are increasing the n to some huge number, there will no much changes in that execution time. But here if you are increasing 100 to what? 1000, so you see the difference, 5000 to what? 50,000 or 1 lakh milliseconds. Okay, your algorithm should give the less execution time for large input size. So we need to always consider the for large n, so what will be the execution time? So the execution time should not what rise as faster as fast. Okay, so here among these algorithm 1, algorithm 2, which one we can say that's the best? So this is the best algorithm. So the rate of growth is what? Less. This is the best algorithm. Like that we can what? Choose. Okay, some algorithm 3. Okay, so that execution rate of growth is like this. So if you are increasing, there is no much changes in that what? T of n. Then this may be what? The best, better than what? The algorithm 3. Like that we can say it. Okay, so this is called the rate of growth. So if you are increasing the size n, input size, how fast the execution time get increased. Okay, that is the rate of growth. To represent the rate of growth, we are going to use this mathematical model that is for asymptotic notations. It is nothing but just a relation between the two functions. Okay, say g of n and what, f of n. So between the two functions, okay, what is the relation? It means that it is a formal notation for discussing and analyzing the classes of functions. That is, we are going to say this particular function, it belongs to this classes of function. Classes means we are going to group this. Okay, these are all what under this group. This function is under what belongs to what, this group. Like that we are going to say. It is like what, f of n. This function is belongs to what, the group of O of g of. This is one simple example for what notation. So it means that the f of n first function is what belongs to this group O of what, g of n, like that. So big O of what, g of n, like that we are going to what, classify the functions, and we are going to say the particular function is belongs to this classes, like that we need to what say. Okay, so this is actually used for representing the time complexity of an algorithm. Okay. First we will discuss what are the different asymptotic notations are there and what is the definition for that. Then how can we relate these asymptotic notations to our what, a time complexity of an algorithm. Okay, so first we will discuss the definitions and types and definitions. There are two major category, okay, in the notations. One is the tight bounds. Another one is the loose bounds. Okay. In the tight bounds, we have the three category. One is the big O notation, okay, which is represented usually as what? Oh, okay. It is nothing but the upper bound. Also what called as the upper bound. And second one is the big omega, which is represented as this one. Okay, this is nothing but the lower bound. And third one is theta, which is represented as theta. Okay, this is both upper and lower bound. Okay, in the loose bounds, so tight bounds and in the loose bound there are two categories. One is a small o and small omega. So which is represented as a small o. Okay, this is a big O, that is a capital letter, a small o, small letter. Okay, another one is a small omega. A small omega is represented as this symbol. Okay, this symbol, and this is also what called as the little o or little omega. Okay, also called as the little o or what, little omega. Okay. So what is the definitions of these different notations? Okay, so simply understand this notations is going to what, compare the two functions. Okay, this function is belongs to what, this group of big O of these functions, big omega of this function, big theta of these functions, like that it is going to what, compare the two functions, and it is going to say this function belongs to this classes of functions. For that we are going to use these notations, and which notation will be used for representing the time complexity of our algorithm, that we will discuss. So we'll discuss one by one. So this is a definition of the big O notation, okay, which is usually what, capital O. See carefully, a function f of n is said to be in big O of or O of g of n usually denoted as f of n belongs to that O of g of n, or simply what f of n equal to what g of n, O of g of n. When the f of n is bounded above by some positive constant, above by some positive constant multiple of g of n for all large n. How can we simply understand that definition is, see this, simply what f of n must be less than or equal to what c into, c is some positive constant, we here this is some positive constant, that is a c into that g of n. Okay, the function n is less than or equal to c into what f g of n. If this condition is satisfied, we can say that f of n is what belongs to that big O of g of n. This function, this belongs to what, which classes, big O of what, g of n class, like that we can say it. If there exists some positive constant c and what for some non-negative integer n naught, so this condition should be satisfied for all the n values which is greater than or equal to what, n naught. So we need to some minimum n value. It means that after this n value the condition should be what, satisfied, like that we have to say. Okay, so for example, the rate of growth of function n is like this. Okay, rate of growth of what, the function f of n is like this. This curve represent the f of n rate of growth. Okay, this is a rate of growth of g of n into some constant. Okay, g of n into what, some constant. So this rate of growth is what, this one, up to this n value, n naught value. Okay, c into g of n is less than what, f of n, but after this point, after some minimum n naught value, it means that for large n, that is the meaning of what, large n. So for the least n numbers, okay, minimum n numbers, we need not consider the condition. We need to consider for what, the large n. So we need to say after this n naught value, because complexity, time complexity, usually what we have to say for what, large n values, what will be the complexity, how the rate of growth is occur. Okay, so that after this point n naught value, okay, your function rate of growth of what, the function f of n is less than that c into g of n, then we can say that this f of n is what belongs to the g of n. So that only we are saying the big O is the upper bound. Okay, we are also saying that upper bound. So f of n, the upper bound is what, g of n. It means that what is the meaning of this representation is, at any cases the f of n will not go beyond what, c into g of n. So this is the upper limit for what, that is f of n. So that we are saying f of n belongs to this big O of g of n. This is upper bound. We can assume that what, that f of n will not go beyond this. Okay, this will not happen. Okay, so the it will be, must be less than or equal to what, c into g of n. Okay, so then we can say this is the belongs to what, c into g of n. That only we have to what, prove. Okay, one example for this. Okay, so if we are as these two functions are given, 3n squared plus 4n and plus 2. For example, this is given as the execution time of your algorithm. So you have analyzed the algorithm. Only if you analyze that algorithm, so this is the number of steps. Okay, so this is one function, 3n squared plus 4n plus 2, and we need to what, prove that which is belongs to what, O of n squared. So n squared is another function, okay, which is belongs to what, O of n squared. So that we have to prove it. Okay, how can we prove means, let us consider that first one, f of n is a 3n squared plus g plus 4n plus 2, g of n is a n squared. We need to prove if this belongs to this, means if we need to prove that f of n is less than or equal to c into what, g of n for all large n values. All large n value means what, I need to find for after which n value this condition is true, and for which constant the condition is true. So what is the c value, what is the n naught value, that we have to what, say after what, this n naught value for this particular constant, Okay, so this condition is what true. So that what this function is belongs to what? This g of n. Like that you have to what prove it. The simple method to find that n naught and c value is just write this 3n squared plus 4n plus what 2. We need to prove this to what which is less than or equal to c into n squared. So convert all the terms to what n squared. It means that this is already there in what n squared. So just you raise this n into what n squared. We are saying that n is a positive number only. That is all multiple large n only. So if you are raising this power to n squared, and if you are multiplying the 2 by the n squared, so you multiply this by n, multiply this by n squared, so that we can say that 3n squared plus what 4n squared plus what 2n squared, like that we can say. It means that we have multiplied this by what n, we have multiplied this term by what n squared. It means that this multiplied new value must be what less than or equal to what, so must be greater than or equal to what this term, correct? Since we are what increase the n term to n squared, this constant term into what n squared, so this must be what greater than the new term. So just simply what raise all the power to the given power, that is O of n squared which is given, so all the power to what square. So we are obtaining this one. So now then we can say that this is 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 is less than or equal to what, add it 9n squared. So this is to obtain that constant, okay, 9n squared. So like that we can say that. So this is what less than or equal to what 9, that only we have to prove. So we can say that c equal to what 9. Then we need to say after which n naught value this condition is true. So we obtain that c equal to what 9. So this is only the induction method. This is not necessary to be the 9. We can say that it is a 8 or 7 or some value we can substitute here. So for this c value, after this n naught value, this condition is true. Like that only you have to prove it. To prove it as a shortcut method, we have what find. Let's raise the power and then what 9 into n square, like that. Then we need to substitute n equal to 1. Okay, so start the n value from what some minimum 1, n equal to 2, n equal to 3. So for this 1, 2, 3 values, this condition is true or not, like that you check it. If you are substituting n equal to 1 here, 3 1 squared, 3 into what 1 squared plus 4 into 1 plus 2 less than or equal to 9 into 1 squared. Okay, so which is equivalent to 3 plus 4 plus 7, that is what 9. So 9 is less than or equal to what 9. So the condition is what true. Okay, so when you are substituting this what 2, n equal to 2, so 3 into what 2 squared, okay, plus 4 into the 2 plus 2 is less than or equal to 9 into what 2 squared. Okay, 4 and 3 into 4 12 plus 8 20 and 22. So 22 is less than or equal to 4 into 9 36. So 22 is less than what 36. So this is condition also what, so it is increased. So now if you are substituting this 3, okay, if you are substituting is the 3, so 9 into 3 27 plus 4 into 3 12 plus 2 less than or equal to 9 into 9 81. It means that 39 41. So 41 is less than or equal to what 81. So this condition also what true. Okay, so this is also what to confirmation. After the n naught value n equal to 1 2 3, after that n 1 This condition is what? True. So that what? This condition is true. So that what? The function is belongs to what? This one. Like that you have to say, convey. How to prove means 3n squared, that is as f of n. Here f of n is less than or equal to what? C into g of n. Okay, for all n is greater than or equal to what? 1. Okay, all n is greater than or equal to 1 and the c value equal to what? 9. Okay, so for this condition is what? True. This condition is true for what? N equal to greater than or equal to 1 and c equal to what? 9. Be clear what is the c and n naught. C is a positive constant and n naught is a non-negative integer. It means that the c may be the decimal number also. It may be the 0.5 or 0.2 or 0.3 also. It not necessarily to be 9 like that proof. So we can say that c equal to 1 after this n naught value it is what? True. Like that also what we can say. This is only by substituting induction method only. So by substituting some n value from c value we have to prove it. Okay, so now we can say that this is the f of n is equal to what? The n square. So 3n square plus 4n plus 2 which is equal to what? O of n squared, like that. So that we can say it. So simply what you can remember, whatever the function for O of n squared plus 4n for the things, okay, we can say that O of that big term. So what is the highest term? N term is what? N squared. So this function belongs to what? The O of n squared. So we can ignore this. It means that this big lengthy what function is belongs to what? This classes, big O of n squared classes. So this is the rate of growth of this function, like that we can say it. Okay. It means that this function rate of growth will not go beyond what? C into n squared. Okay, will not go this C into what? N squared. The next time big omega. Okay, big omega is represented as this symbol. A function f of n is said to be the big omega of g of n, denoted as simply what? F of n belongs to omega of g of n, or f of n equal to what? Omega of g of n. If f of n is bounded below by, okay, big omega what? Only this is different. Above by some positive constant multiple of g of n. But here what? It is f of n is bounded below by what? Some positive constant multiples of what? G of n. So just to see this we can understand. This is the definition. So here in big O, f of n is less than or equal to what? C into g of n. But here f of n is what? Greater than or equal to what? C into what? G of n. For c is some positive constant and n naught is a non-negative integer. So for all large n. Okay, for all large n means what? After n, this n naught value, this condition is true, like that you have to prove. So the rate of growth of the function is this one, okay, f of n. Okay, so the rate of growth of what? G of n, c into g of n is this one. It means that f of n at any situation of for any large n value, the f of n will not go below what? C into g of n. So lower bound we have defined. In big omega, we have defined the upper bound. F of n will not go beyond that one. But in the big omega, we are saying that f of n will not go below what? The c into what? G of n. Okay, so we can say that what? C f of n is belongs to what? Omega of g of n. Like that. We have to what? See. An example here is the 3n square plus 4n plus 2 is equal to what? The omega of n squared. That we have to prove. Where the f of n is this one, g of n is what? N squared. So for that we need to prove that 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 is greater than or equal to c into n squared. Okay, c into what? N squared. Okay, for proving the the big O, what we have done is this term is raised to the power of what? N squared. But here we need to say which is what? Greater than or equal to c into some n squared, like this. So for this, write this term n squared plus 4n plus 2, instead of raising this power to what n squared, just you skip this term 4 into what n and then 2, this terms is going to be skipped, so we can write what simply 3n squared, correct? So the bigger this term alone we have written, so the plus 4n plus 2 is going to be what skipped. Okay, here here this term, okay, actually what this term is skipped, correct? So the 3n squared and this term must be what greater than or equal to what 3 into n squared, since we have skipped this term, correct? So we can relate like this, so 3n squared, so that what we can choose that c equal to what 3, c equal to 3, and we need to find the n naught value. So we can write 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 is must be greater than or equal to 3n squared, because we have skipped this term. Okay, so that it will be greater than this one. If you are raising this power to the power squared, and if you are multiplying this by n squared, means what, that new term must be what greater than or equal to this term. But here we are reducing this, so reducing this means that term is must be less than or equal to what this term. So now I have to start with n equal to 1, n equal to 2 and n equal to what 3. So n equal to 1, if you are substituting, okay, 3 plus 4 plus 2 greater than or equal to what 3, that is equal to what 7, 9. So 9 greater than or equal to what 3, condition is what true. So if you are substituting n equal to 2, okay, so you don't stop by substituting n equal to 1 alone. So we need to what, at least 3 numbers we have to check. If it is not true, means I need to go for the 2. From the 2, 3, 4 like that we have to check. Again, if it is not the true, for the 2 also, if it is not the true, I have to start with the 3 and have to continue. Okay, so in some cases what, it may be true, the condition may be true after what, n equal to 5, after n equal to 10, like that also it may be that. So we have to substitute one by one only. So now 3 2 4 12 plus 4 into 8 plus 2 greater than or equal to 3 into 4 12. So that is 22 greater than or equal to what 12. So this also what true. N equal to 3, 9 27 plus 12 plus 2 greater than or equal to 9 into 3 27. So here 39 and 41 greater than or equal to what 27. So continue. So we can say that this 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 is greater than or equal to 3 into n squared for all n is greater than or equal to what 1, like that. So we found that n naught value is what 1, and this is the c value. Okay, so that for the c equal to, for c equal to 3 and n naught equal to what 1, okay, so this is the non-negative integer and this is what positive constant, that is satisfying this condition. Okay, so for this n naught value, this condition is true, that is what f of n is greater than or equal to c into what g of n. So we have proved that 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 is equal to what omega of what n squared, like that we have proved. So the rate of growth of this function will not go below what the rate of growth of what n squared, then we can say that this is omega of n squared. Okay, then the big theta, the theta notation means is nothing but what, if you are defining both upper bound and the lower bound for the function, we can what say that the function belongs to what theta of something. It means that if a function belongs to that big O of some function and big omega of same function, then we can say that function is belongs to what big theta. So it is definition is a function f of n is said to be in theta, that is theta of g of n, denoted as what? F of n equal to what? Theta of g of n, or simply for f of n equal to theta of g of n. If a function is bounded both above and what? Below, okay, both above and below by some constant multiple of what? G of n for large n. So simply what? The f of n is now what? In between c1 into g1 and g of n and what? C2 into g of n. We are going to relate the function with the g f of n with g of n only. Okay, so it is in between some constant multiple of g of n and what? Some other constant multiple of what? G of n. So here this is the rate of growth of what? F of n. Okay, so rate of growth of what? C1 into what? G of n is this one. C2 into g of n rate of growth is this one. So here after this point, the f of n is less than or equal to C2 into g of n. After this point, that f of n is after this point, the f of n is greater than or equal to what? C1 into g of n. So we need to say this is the, after this large n value, the f of n rate of growth is in between these two. Okay, C2 into g of n, C1. It will not go beyond this or it will not go below this one, like that. Okay, so then we can say that this is the function f of n is equal to what? Theta of g of n. So example, you consider this 3n squared plus 4n and plus 2 is belongs to theta of what? N squared, like that we have to prove. Or 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 equal to what? Theta of n squared. Proof is very simple. We need to say that this g of n, we need to say that f of n is less than or equal to c1 into what? G of n, and f of n is greater than or equal to what? So sorry, f of n is less than or equal to c2 into g of n, some c constant value. Okay, f of n is what? Greater than or equal to c1 into what? G of n, for all n value is greater than or equal to what? N naught. So I need to find that n naught value and c1 value and then what? C2 value. So how can we prove? Means just you prove it, the f of n, this is nothing but the condition for what? Big O. Okay, so I need to say that the f of n is a big O of g of n. In that, what is the c value and n naught value, and then we have to prove it, the f of n is greater than or equal to what? G of n. It means that this is what? Big omega. So for which c value and n naught value, the f of n, it belongs to what? Big omega. That we have to find it. Okay, so in this, for the same, we have what? Solved the big O notation. The big O notation, what we have? For the c value what? 9 and n is greater than or equal to 1, the condition is what? True. So we can say that this is true for c2 equal to what? 9 and n naught equal to what? What is that n naught value here? 1. So n greater than or equal to what? 1. So n naught equal to what? 1. This condition is true. Okay, so true for c2 equal to 9 and what? N naught equal to what? 1. So like this we have to prove it. And then for this is also what already we proved, that f of n is greater than or equal to c1 into what? G of n. For that we need to consider the big omega. So here we have proved this f of n is greater than or equal to this c into g of n for c equal to 3 and n naught equal to what? 1. So for c1 equal to, this is true for C1 equal to 3 and n naught value equal to what? 1. So I need to choose the big one. So which is the maximum between this n naught and this n naught. So both are the same. So that I can say that this function n, okay, f of n is in between C1, C2 into g of n. That is what? 9 into what? G of n. Okay, and 3 into what? F of n. Okay, for all what? N is greater than or equal to what? N naught. N naught value is what? 1 here. So which n naught we have to choose? Means the maximum n naught we have to choose. So that you can say that n is greater than or equal to what? 1. This condition is true. So that is 9 into n squared is less than or equal to 3n squared plus 4n plus 2 less than or equal to what? 3 into n squared for all n greater than or equal to what? 1. So this I have to what? Here this is n naught and this is C1 and this is what? C2, like that. Sorry, this is C1 sorry, actually we need to write what? C1 into g of n, that is here the 3 and here it is what? 9. So C1 into g of n less than, that is a 3 and here it is what? 9. Similarly 3 is what? C1 and this is what? 9. So this is C2 and this is what? C1. Okay, so for this C1 and C2 and n naught value the condition is true. So what? The 3n squared, the 4n plus 2 is belongs to what? Theta of what? N squared, like that I can prove it. So simply remember, if you want to prove a function belongs to theta of some other function, I need to prove that function is belongs to that big O as well as what? Belongs to the big omega of that function. If a function belongs to both, then that function by default it is belongs to what? Big theta of what? Some function. Okay, so these are the three upper tight bound notations. Okay, the next video I will explain the small o and small omega, and for the algorithm rate of time complexity representation, which notation we need to use, that we'll discuss in the next class. If you have the doubt in these three notations, you can ask. Okay, thank you.